When we run, it's quite easy to kind of forget about our arms. They are not the thing which is putting the power through the ground. However, there's a couple of things we should probably not be doing and a couple of things which is really useful to do with our arms when we are running. Let's look at what not to do first of all. But first of all, I'd like you to give yourself a little test. I'd just like you to run for a couple of 100 meters with no arm drive, hands held right by your sides, and see how natural that feels. And then I'd like you to run, again, just a couple of 100 meters, but with an exaggerated arm drive. Really come around your body, throw your arms about. Because sometimes by doing the wrong thing, we actually reinforce doing the right thing and why we're doing it. If you have very little arm drive, whether that be arms held by your side, or some people call it T-Rex arms, when you have no arm movement and arms held at your front, then you're going to really hinder your rotation. And a lot of people say, well, we don't want rotation when we're running. But we do. When we run, one foot comes forward and one arm comes forwards. And to get that anatomical position, you need to have a rotation from your pelvis to your shoulders. So we do want a slight degree of rotation, but we don't want loads of rotation, because if we throw our arms over there, then our momentum goes over there. And if we throw our arms over there, we throw our momentum over there. And we're not trying to run over there or over there. We're trying to run forwards. So an excess of cross-body rotation does result in lost energy. And it also results in excess pressure on the hips as well, because if I rotate over there, so my arm is coming across this center line, directing energy over to that corner, my hips, in order to make me run forwards, have to over-rotate in the other direction to compensate. And therefore, there's this extra torsion around the core, pelvis, hips area. And that's not very good for runners. So what we don't want is lots of rotation, but we do want a little bit, because we don't want that super stiff, rigid tension in our body when we run. The more tension we have when we run, the more shock we will put through our limbs, and that's not a good thing either. We want to be nice, relaxed and loose. Soft hands, soft shoulders. And you'll probably notice when you start to run in the wrong way with your arms, what happens is at the front of your body, people either run with T-Rex arms or they run throwing their arms across the body, but they don't really seem to concentrate on what happens at the back. And the position of back drive which you have ideally should facilitate a little bit of daylight coming through the small of the back in the crook of the elbow. Obviously not if you've got a massive hoodie on, but if you're wearing tight-fitting running clothing, do you see some daylight coming through the crook of the elbow? Get someone to observe you from the side and feedback. So we know we want a nice linear arm drive, and we know we want a decent amount of back drive, but these two do slightly depend on the gradient which you're running as well. If you're going up a steep hill, you'll probably want more back drive in order to propel you up the hill. And on the other hand, if you're running down the hill, it can be useful to have a slightly wider arm drive, which encourages that slight bit more cross rotation just for balance. It lowers your centre of gravity ever so slightly as you come to the bottom and gives you that little bit more stopping power, particularly in tight turns at the bottom fields in cross-country races. But generally, think nice, relaxed, linear arm drive with a decent amount of backswing proportional to gradient. And thinking about your arms is also a really good way to trick your body into running that little bit faster as well. Your legs will follow what your arms do. So when your legs get super fatigued, think about your arms. Think about driving your arms that bit more. Your stride will lengthen or your cadence will quicken. And that's a really, really good tip to just be able to hone into when your legs are feeling like they cannot give anymore. And as for how to improve your arm drive, if you notice yourself falling into these habits, it's mostly just an awareness. So I would say the best thing is to associate your arm drive with a visual clue. What is something that you see regularly enough on your runs that you can use as a reminder, such as a postbox or a red car or a dog? Every single time you pass one of these, imagining it's not too frequent on your run, you don't want to choose something that you see every single second, just have that as a cue, okay? It's a dog, I'm thinking about my arm drive. A couple of other things that you can do though is if you have a resistance band, anchor it in front of you and then practice some arm drives backwards on both sides. Practice all the good quality movement patterns, driving back nice and linear, not forcing the resistance band to come across you, but forcing it backwards. And this activates the tricep really, really well and just activates the shoulder as well in that nice linear plane. And if you do it with tension, with some resistance, then when you don't have that resistance, it just feels all the more freer having practiced that movement pattern.